Have you ever been through something and you don't know what just happened, but you know it was important to go through? This is that journey for me.
Misogynist rantings would be at home in the far-reaching internet subculture widely described as the men's rights movement, a toxic distillation of the worst aspects of American sexism. It's a universe of message boards where men get together to express their hatred towards women.
I thought men have all the advantages in the world these days.
That's utter nonsense. Men are routinely ground up in a family court system that is misinterested and biased against them. They are the majority of the homeless. They are the majority of suicides. They are the majority of the drug addicted. They are the majority of the unemployed. They are the majority of school dropouts. They are a majority of those in prison.
How do we know that they're not the cause of these problems?
I can't believe what I just heard you say.
There's a reason that women live longer, Mark. Let me tell you. It is because we are stronger and we are happier at the end of the day than most men. And that is factual, and you know it.
And when men are married to women who scream like you, they just want to die sooner. When you have women...
A voice for men, an online hub for men's rights activists, and they were founded by a man named Paul Ellen.
It's a website called A Voice for Men that's run by a man named Paul Elam, which is male spelled backwards, but it is his real name, apparently.
It's a gathering of women haters.
The Southern Poverty Law Center has classified that group and men's rights groups as hate groups.
He wrote a piece declaring the month of October to be Bash a Violent Bitch Month. I mean, literally to grab them by the hair and smack their face against the wall, he wrote.
You may be wondering why I'm sitting in a car with notorious men's rights activist Paul Elam. That's a valid question. And to answer it, I need to start at the beginning of how I became a feminist. I was a quiet kid preferring to observe from afar. My mom put me in theater classes when I was 8 years old to break me out of my shell, and I loved it. So much, to the point that I decided to move to Hollywood when I was 18 years old to become an actress. What I wasn't prepared for was to be pigeonholed as the blonde who always died. Billy? Granted, I had a good scream. But the characters I played weren't alone in feeling objectified. I was commonly harassed on the streets, hit on by married producers, told by photographers to come back when I lost 15 pounds and got a boob job, and a plethora of other uncomfortable experiences, all while still being a teenager. I started to realize my role in the world seemed a little too similar to the unfortunate roles I was auditioning for, and it was not how I saw myself or the person that I wanted to be. So, I quit acting and bought a video camera to tell the stories I wanted to tell. And now, I've been making documentary films since 2008 when I was 21 years old. Most of my work has been about women's issues and sexuality. I've covered a range of topics from the phenomenon of purity balls to reproductive rights, single motherhood, and LGBT rights. After releasing my film in 2012 about marriage equality, I was at a loss of what topic to explore next. And that's when two horrific stories broke the news.
Two-star high school football players in Steubenville, Ohio, have been found guilty of raping a West Virginia teenager.
The video shows the former Steubenville student callously joking about the incident.
That's like rape. It is rape.
Bro,
they raped her.
You know you do it? Bro.
They raped her.
This is the funniest thing.
Outrage across India as a 23-year-old woman, the victim of one of the most horrific rapes India has ever heard of.
A 90-minute horror for a 23-year-old medicine student on this bus. Gang raped and beaten. Her friend assaulted and thrown out of the bus.
Every day, every woman is facing violence on the street.
I started to research this rape culture. A website called A Voice for Men popped up. Paul Elam wrote about how women long to live out their rape fantasies, to be taken by a man she's never spoken to, let alone given consent to. As I read, I was asking myself, is this the rape apologist that I've been hearing about? The victim blamer who perpetuates rape culture? I continued to read A Voice for Men's website, often stopping around the halfway mark in every article because I could only read so many bitch, fuck, feminazi, and rape-tard words per minute. But even still, I kept reading, and thinking, and reading some more. I was trying to understand how these, what I perceived to be women haters, could have so many followers. So, I decided to meet these MRAs. The ones leading the movement, and some of their followers too. And this begins my journey down the rabbit hole.
This, ladies and gentlemen, is an historic moment. Never before has there been a gathering of this magnitude to support men's and boys' issues. We have got serious problems. I have been working in this area advocating for the rights of and here we go.
What you'll hear is that we hate women. You'll hear that it's a backlash against women's rights. You'll hear that we're regressives that want women back in the kitchen and making sandwiches and barefoot and pregnant.
You're bitter, you're a loser, you're a whiner, you're ugly, you're undesirable, you're lazy, you're scary, you must be a racist, you must be a misogynist.
When we do speak out, women often don't want to hear what we have to say. And so then we're called names, we're called whiners.
And this is the way people who don't want men to talk about issues try to shut us up.
We all know that you guys are a fascist Nazi friend group of white supremacists. No other way to openly organize other than calling yourself a men's rights group. We're somehow disempowered because we're white men. Maybe it's just because you're pathetic.
We're here to fight how misogynistic assholes think they have the right to oppress women. White men are starting to feel misplaced because women are sharing space. It's disgusting, and scroll the fuck up, and don't confuse suffrage with oppression. Everyone suffers. It's universal. I am a man, and I need feminism.
And it is crystal clear that the problems for men and boys are real. I would like to turn the microphone over to Paul Elam of A Voice for Men for some words.
This is a historic day. I've never seen a gathering like this out of concern for the general state of affairs for men and boys in this culture. And it's
trying to articulate the entire platform of the men's rights movement is kind of like trying to understand a snowdrift one snowflake at a time. It's a very, very complicated matter. Just consider this, that 93% of workplace fatalities are men. 4 of 5 suicides are men. Men are dropping out of higher education at very alarming rates. We're down to 38% now of college students are men, and it's dropping rapidly.
Male